Thank you. And I think we have more than a quorum. We've got Julie, Lauren, and Bethany, and I think everyone else is here. So the first thing is public hearings. So I have one. I could probably put it somewhere else in the agenda, but I'll stick it here. So this past week, we had a meeting with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. Steve from the board, the committee was there, along with Jackie and Jennifer and our town administrator, Becky. There were representatives from Joe Comerford's office and maybe other representatives' offices as well. Joe Comerford did also attend. And we talked to the person sort of in charge at MSBA. And so my first thoughts were, it was really nice to hear a person at that end and sort of explain things in a very sort of logical way, you know, explaining that, you know, there's one pool of money, it's distributed as carefully and equitably as possible. They consider all factors. But he was really knowledgeable, and obviously, you know, he talked about how difficult it is to give money away because everybody needs it and wants it. So it was just refreshing to sort of see, because, you know, they keep expanding like the years of life on a school roof. You know, it's gone from 20 years and I don't know if it's 28 now or whatever. And all of those numbers are based upon 23. Yeah. Oh, 30.
30.
Oh, geez. Well, why not 50? But those numbers are all based on, you know, basically they have only so much money. But again, he was informed and knowledgeable, understanding, and that meant so much to me. It was so refreshing. You know, you really understand the position that they're in. I will say that Jackie brought up, you know, is there anything that happens with small and rural schools? And, you know, I think he heard that a little bit. And then I think Jennifer sort of hit it out of the park by sort of following up with that, talking about it. I thought that it was really effective. So I want to thank the both of you because honestly, you know, watching his facial expressions and body language when that was brought up, my sense was he almost went like, oh, like, hadn't thought of it that perspective. So I thought it was really good that you did that. Whether or not we get the grant, we'll have to wait and see. But I appreciate that we were all there. Steve, thank you for being there as well. And for engaging in a very positive way, and we'll see where we go. So thank you. All right, next, Gillian Budine is here to talk about the Community Network for Children. Do you know all of us at this end, Gillian?
I do.
Okay.
Bethany reminded me where I've met her before, and
Okay.
I know everyone else. Yes, yeah.
Okay. And I think we all know you too. And
Yeah,
Steve's
right.
waving. So.
Yeah, I'm Gillian. I'm the coordinator for the Community Network for Children program. I'd like to try to make an attempt to get to a school committee meeting at least once a year, just to kind of update you on the program. It's been a little bit of time since we've done that, in part because of COVID. But I just want to sort of give you a sense of where CNC is now. And just as a reminder, the Community Network for Children program that we call CNC is primarily funded by the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care through the Coordinated Family and Community Engagement Grant. In addition, the program receives support from the Union 28 budget for a small percentage of the staff salaries and much in-kind support. Local grants and donation provide some support as well for us to expand some of our programming. Some of you, probably almost all of you actually here, have participated to some extent when your children were young. And the CNC program covers Shutesbury, Leverett, New Salem, Wendell, and Irving. So all of Union 28, as well as we have families from other towns nearby who participate as well. Our grant purpose from the state is to provide all families with access to locally available comprehensive services and supports that strengthen families, promote optimal child development, and bolster school readiness. So it's a large ask for a small program. The CNC program has an excellent track record as a hub of information and support, partially due to the longevity of the program and the relationships that we've built with families in our communities. It's also due to the fact that within our 5 communities, there are not very many programs to support families. We have the schools, we have the libraries, and we have CNC. There's very limited like home visiting programs and support to families coming into the community. So we work closely with those programs that do. We have very few licensed family childcare providers. Currently, we have 5 licensed childcare providers in all 5 towns, the total. I used to work with 11 licensed childcare providers in our 5 towns. So it's a drastic reduction that has caused a lot of stress for families. Over the past 8 years, through budget reductions, CNC has maintained the core of our family programming, but we have had to reduce the scope of our services. CNC has family playgroups, Tales and Tunes programs, story walks in all 5 towns. We collaborate with the libraries and the schools, and they have been very accommodating and true partners in making programs accessible to families. While the pandemic has reduced the locations, we're slowly returning to some of the locations we've used regularly in the past. We've had a lot of programming outside. Families like that, especially at this time of year, to get out in the springtime weather. And we continue to have parent support groups, advisory council meetings, educational parent workshops, and special programs that have continue, but with ever increasing reliance on donations from the community. Connections with families before their children enter school is crucial. In every way, we work to help families connect to their community, provide opportunities to reduce isolation, offer support and guidance around transitioning to childcare or preschool, helping children be ready for school through our Ready Rosie program, and strengthening families through trusted relationships and connecting on an ongoing basis. Our challenges right now is that our budget is $83,789 from our CFCE grant. That has been the same for the last 8 years. The CFC grant budget can no longer fund mileage for staff, evening PJ story times, educational family trips, as well as a number of other things. And our weekly program schedule, which used to be sort of this ongoing, just every week we had programming. We've had to reduce to like, we'll have a series of 4 or 5 sessions, take a break, have another series of 4 or 5 sessions, take a break. The grant budget funds salaries for 1 coordinator and a part-time assistant, and a portion of that, because Union 28 assists with that as well. Very limited supplies, online licenses needed for registrations and newsletters, and our Ready Rosie school readiness program. During the last couple of years, as everybody here knows, families' needs have increased, and the request for support around basic needs, food, housing, diapers, childcare, mental health support has risen. And supporting families with multiple stressors takes time and attention to build positive and supportive relationships. The isolation of the pandemic has increased those stressors, and the CNC program in collaboration with the First Congregational Church of Leverett has a very active children's closet. CNC staff operate the free children's closet and hold satellite office hours there once a week. We are able to provide free diapers in collaboration with the Hampshire Franklin Diaper Task Force, books, free books, and information and resources for families to other supports in the area. CNC staff also help families access the Mass State waitlist for childcare. Unfortunately, right now, families who got on the wait list over a year ago are still waiting for childcare slots that are funded, that they can get help funding. So childcare right now is a real stressor and something I've been trying to work on in our community. I do want to state that the Union 28 administrators and staff continue to be incredibly supportive of the CNC program, and we also thank the school committees as well for continuing to support the Community Network for Children. If anyone here has ideas, questions, a family for us to connect with, please be in touch. In addition, we have a link to the CNC website on each Union 28 school website. So Shutesbury Elementary has a link to our page. We also have a Facebook page and Instagram. We're out there on social media trying to connect with families. And I'm just going to read just a couple quotes to give you a sense of the impact for families. CNC is an amazing resource to have in our community. We are so fortunate to have access to the information, material resources, and support CNC provides. When we first became foster parents, we were incredibly overwhelmed. Gillian stopped in with a huge box of toys for the girls, but more importantly, words of advice and support. And then one other is just one of the pieces of CNC programs that I appreciate the most as a parent who loves learning alongside their child is that the programs are so well designed and presented that I can completely be in the moment in activity with my child, and the programs are immersive and fun. So I thank you for your time listening to me and sort of making sure that I help you be aware of CNC as we continue. I also invite you to visit our programs if you ever want to see what it looks like in action, to meet our families and our program facilitators as well. And that's that, if anyone has any questions.
Jennifer.
So what Gilly doesn't mention is all of the other work she does that she doesn't get paid for. She's very humble. She participates in twice weekly leadership team meetings and is incredibly knowledgeable and supportive. She has worked with Pam Rogers and crafted Union 28 enrollment forms that are the same at all schools. She meets with our Director of Student Support Services around preschool and trying to work with our preschool staff. And she also has taken on the role of some of the early childhood coordinator work. So we are incredibly lucky to have Gilly for all she does for the CNC, but for all she does above and beyond. And I know Gilly would never mention it, so I'm going to.
Thanks.
Yes, the principals, we would be lost without her. She is a great source of all things wonderful. So,
Julie, did you have your hand up?
No, I did, but I was just trying to heart it, but
Oh, okay.
came up as a hand. So
I feel it, Julie. Thank you.
I put it down.
So I have a quick question for you.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know if you ever see migrant students, migrant children and families that are coming in.
Very, very limited.
If you do,
Yep.
if you do, the Collaborative for Educational Services now runs a program for the state of Massachusetts for migrant families and students.
Mhm.
They offer lots of services, so just to be aware of that. If you ever have any questions, it's on their website, or you can give me a call or shoot me an email. I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Those families tend to sort of settle where they can have public transportation. So since we don't have that or very limited access.
Mm-hmm.
But we have in the past had families who participate in some of our programming. So they may come to our programming, but not live in our 5 towns. So it's still good to know to share information with them.
Yeah, you just kind of never know.
Right.
Julie.
Oh, I think Steve had his hand up first, actually.
I'm sorry. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah,
Your
I just
hand-
want to give Gillian a shout out because as one of those former 11 daycare providers, the amount of support that we were given was amazing. And if families are getting just half of that, they are in great hands. Thank you, Gillian.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, Julie, and then Lauren.
Gilly, do you know about All Our Kids, the organization All Our Kids?
For foster families?
Yeah.
Yes. I used to be more connected to them, and more recently I have not been, but I am aware of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure because they're a good resource that we used and
Great.
we support. So.
Thanks.
All right. Anything else?
That's it. I may at some point, coordinators like myself are sort of getting ready for an ask next year fiscally to maybe try to bump us up. And at some point I may ask if you can help educate our legislators about the impact that we have on families and community.
Absolutely,
So I'll
absolutely.
let you know.
Our legislators are very supportive, very responsive,
They
and
are.
really good listeners, so.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you coming here this evening and sharing all that information, and we really appreciate and support your program and all that you do for all of these years. So
Thank you. Thanks. Take care.
You too. All right, next item is review of the perpetual calendar. Most things we were either taken care of last month, like the school choice vote, obviously town meeting. One of the items that'll be changing will be reorganization. We'll do that at the next meeting because town meeting is coming after this meeting. And there will be elections. Julie, good luck. And I think superintendent evaluation sort of is in the process, maybe just a little bit behind, but we're on track. All right, any warrants and gifts? Start with the warrants there, Steve.
All right, I have 4 of them. I have payroll warrant number 322 dated May 2nd, 2022 for a total amount of $88,054. Payroll warrant number 323 dated May 16th, 2022 in the amount of $85,004.90. And then to the accounts payable, I have number 3022 dated April 13th, 2022 in the amount of $11,863.48. And number 3023 dated May 2nd, 2022 in the amount of $16,865.62. And Trevor, I'll send you those in a minute.
Great, thank you. And any
Steve, I already
gifts?
have them from Caitlin. Those are the right numbers. So thanks.
Awesome, thank you. So let the record show the warrants have been submitted. And any gifts? No. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from April 14th, 2022? You're so moved somewhere.
Motion to approve the minutes.
All
From April
right.
15th.
And Lauren, was that a perfect? Were there any edits or amendments? Hearing none, all approved. Hayes, aye.
Rose, aye.
Martell, I.
Thomas Bateman, aye.
Sullivan, I.
Excellent. All right, so unfinished business, capital projects, building process. Steve, do we have any updates on where we are with everything?
No, I believe with the HVAC, they're just waiting for the select board to sign the contract so that contractor can start. And that's it for now.
Okay, the roof over the gym has been fixed, right? Okay.
It
And
has
now,
been replaced.
thank you so much. And the pipeline for the replacement of the other part of the roof, hopefully at town meeting, we'll have more information on that. All right. Okay, Jackie, any other needs at this time at the school?
That's an interesting question. Not an emergency need, but I'm just gonna reiterate again. At least once a week, I have someone talk to me about what the outside of the school looks like, which is not awesome. It's looking really run down, as we all know. You know, the boards around the top are rotting and the paint is starting to chip and the roof looks pretty bad from a distance. But obviously we don't want to spend $30,000 painting a school when we're going to hopefully have a new roof or replace, all of the wood if we're going to get like a gutter system. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's
Right.
really tricky because we spend a lot of time. That's my dog drinking water in the background. We spend a lot of time making sure the inside of the school looks nice, and it does. And it's hard to watch the outside
Mhm.
start to fade. And so I just am bringing it up again. If you start to hear it, I try to answer as best I can and as positively as I can. But we do get that often. And then also the state, and I know Steve probably could speak more about this than me, but the state of our parking lot is really rough, and it's getting more and more rough looking. And again, these are things that are aging, right? It's not like the fault of anything, but it's reaching the time where they really need to be examined. So I just wanted to put those two things out there because they're things that are very visible and more people are starting to notice.
Right. I definitely think that, once they've done the other half of the roof, and whether they involve or integrate some of those things that you're talking about, when that's done, it'll be nice to be able to sort of, I guess, work our way down. And but we'll keep us posted on those. And Steve, you can bring that to capital planning, okay? Great. I will mention just real quick, on Mother's Day, I was up in Maine on a treadmill and got a phone call from a neighbor to the school in Shutesbury, and said that there were lots of really, really loud noises, bangs and booms coming from the school. So I tried to get a hold of Steve. I texted Jennifer to see if there was maybe construction going on. I actually called my mother to see if she could take a ride over. And my daughter was at my mother's house. So my daughter drove over. And she texted me. She said, there's these two really big cranes with a wrecking ball on each one. And then she said, ha ha. So I was happy she has a sense of humor. Anyhow, there was someone mowing the lawn and another person with a leaf blower. So I had called back the concerned resident just to let them know my daughter was at the school and what was going on. We did have a conversation. And Jackie, I'm just basically saying all this so that you're aware and everyone else is aware. I did explain that it's done because students are not there. It's the best time, and weather's a factor. You've got to work around the weather. The kids, there was a request to maybe do it on Wednesdays, and I said, well, there's still students and cars and people there. And I did say that I believe, according to the zoning bylaws and regulations, that it was still within the time frame and period that most people would be out. So it was left like that.
What time was it? What time was it, Dan?
Well, I got the call, I believe it was like 10:30, 11 o'clock. They said that they did start sometime after 8. So I don't think it was unreasonable. And I did admit that I myself oftentimes start my yard work sometime after 8, so I'm kind of guilty of the same thing. So I think, it ended okay. I'm not sure if they were happy. I think they would have loved to have heard me say that we'll just do it whenever they want us to, but that wasn't reasonable.
Yeah, and you can always, I didn't hear from this person. You can always tell them they can call the school. I'm happy to talk to them about it.
Well, it was a Sunday.
Yeah.
And they did say maybe they shouldn't do it on Mother's Day. But it's like, well, the grass grows and
yeah, well, there's also, it might be the same neighbors who get annoyed at our bells too. So I think, but it's good for me to know. So thank you.
Yeah, just to be aware. And again, I think I explained it as best I could, but in case anything else comes of it. And then I got back on the treadmill and did like a lot more. All right. New business, preparing for town meeting.
Wait, Steve, did you want to say something?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that besides the town highway department and the trash trucks who can start before 7, everyone else is supposed to wait till 7. So they were well within the parameters. And I reminded Dan that this was at least the second or third time that the same person has complained about that. And the other 2 were prior to COVID.
Anyhow, okay, new business, preparing for town meeting. So I put it on the agenda for a couple of reasons, because normally we have it on there on our perpetual calendar, but also I also serve as a president of a condo association in Maine. And for years, it's never conflicted. Theirs is always the 3rd Saturday in May. Ours is always the 1st. Shutesbury changed theirs. So I'm not going to be able to be in attendance at town meeting. I'm sorry. So Jackie, will you be there?
It all depends. I will be there. I have commitments in the afternoon. So if the library vote goes long, I might not be able to, but I will be there for at least the morning part. So I have no idea how to judge the time commitment.
Okay. Caitlin, are you going to be there?
I will be there. It's also my daughter's 10th birthday. So I have a whole ruse about him going out to buy you a whole bunch of presents. So I don't know how long that will last, but I will try to be there for the entire meeting.
Okay, that would be good. If not, I certainly think, who on the school committee will plan on being there? Okay, Julie and Lauren, will you be there?
I will be there.
Okay. So my suggestion is, if there's any discussion or questions, or when they talk about that, even if you just sort of, whoever's there, go up. Sometimes it feels more comfortable to have other people around you to look like a group, and whoever feels most comfortable to speak, you can. I have not heard any issues about our budget. It certainly has been looked at over and over again from finance committee, select board, town administrator. So honestly, I don't think there will be a problem with our budget. I doubt there will even be any questions.
And well, what we tend to get pushback on is our school choice money. And we didn't have a plan before now, and now we have more of a direction. So I feel like there's an easier answer to that question. I mean, we're still obviously not like set on everything, but we have a better handle on how we're spending some of that money. And that usually is like the largest pushback, because people want us to just throw it in at the end of our budget to supplement the budget.
Yeah, and if I could maybe add one thing to that, Jackie, if that does come up, you can certainly talk about how much money was pulled out of, school choice funds, and how we used it this year. If you feel comfortable to say that that is something that is an ongoing project, that we hope to have more clarity on how school choice funds will be used moving forward and in next year's budget. Okay, I mean, again, these will be conversations that we will have as a school committee. We'll be looking for direction from you and Jennifer and Caitlin on best uses. So I just think it may also help. Okay. And then if we could also ask to have, discussion of school choice funds on a future agenda. Okay. So Jennifer, you can remember, or I'll remember. We'll have to let Pam know.
I already wrote it down for Pam.
You're the best. All right. Anything else on capital projects, or no? Nothing else about town meeting? Okay.
I actually do have a question. It's just helpful for me to know. So it's my understanding that the library item is before the school budget. Is that true or false? It's just gonna help me with
Yeah,
time, so I just,
yeah.
That's true.
Thank you,
The
thank
school
you,
is
Steve.
number 7 and the library is number 5.
Thank you.
Just prior to that is the regional schools and then a whole bunch of stuff for the broadband.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is Fair Share Massachusetts. I was given this information through Lauren from Kip Fonch from Leverett. I believe he's a former teacher. I did invite him to this meeting, but he was unable to attend. So he sent me and I think they call them talking points, which I believe was in the packet. I guess I'll start by saying I honestly don't know a lot about it. I'll also say that my personal feeling is, yeah, we need to look at our tax system, and the progressive tax I'm sort of all for. But I also look at some states like New York who have done some of these creative ways of taxing people at the higher income level, and then watching people change their residency. It was obviously talked about a lot, even with within New York City, with Eric Adams, the new mayor of New York City, and they lost a lot of revenue by people moving. De Blasio at the time, I think his statement was, well, we'll just have to tax the rest of the people a little bit more. Mayor Adams did not think that was a good solution. So for me, I'm conflicted. I think it sounds like a great idea, but when I've seen it in practice, it's had the reverse effect. And I haven't heard too much about it. I know that a few years ago, we were talking about the millionaire's tax. That also didn't pass. But this is really just how do we feel as a school committee, and I think he's looking to see whether or not our committee wants to vote to endorse it. So that's all I have to say. Does anyone else have anything to say? And if we don't want to vote on it, we're our committee. We don't have to do anything we want. We could say that we're looking to continue to glean more information, something like that. I certainly will give him a response as to whatever we've decided to do.
I mean, I personally will say that I feel like my union is endorsing this, but I think for me, that's appropriate through that union to go ahead and be active in that way.
I think that's fair, certainly.
I don't know for 100% certainty, but I am 92% sure that the teachers union in our school is endorsing it. But I'm not part of those meetings. I don't think I got like the exact answer, but I'm pretty sure they are.
I know the MTA writ large is.
Yep. Okay, so if there are no motions in regards to this or anything, we can move on to the next item on the agenda. Is everyone okay with that? Okay. All right. Reports, superintendent report.
Yes, good evening. Just to keep you up to date, we went through a hiring process for our .6 coordinator of curriculum and instruction. We had representatives from the leadership team and from the staff on the committee, and we have chosen Lindsay Rodriguez as our curriculum coordinator. She comes to us most recently from Mohawk. She's very excited. She went on a tour of Union 28 schools. She loved the ride. She said, what a beautiful commute. Loved all of our schools and very much enjoyed meeting all of the principals. And she will begin on July 1. So we look forward to having her. She will be housed at Leverett Elementary, which will then mean all of our schools have someone from central office located at their schools. We did some planning today for summer work at the leadership team level. We have our retreat planned for August, which I feel like feels like a long way away today, but we'll probably be here before we know it. And we have many items to discuss as we plan moving forward for next year. Town meetings, we've had Irving's town meeting and Leverett's town meeting and Shutesbury coming up. In June, the beginning of June, we will have Wendell and New Salem. And planning for the end of the year, gathering dates so I know when activities and celebrations will be happening at all the schools. And lastly, I will be participating in some webinars with our Director of Finance and Operations. We will be attending end of year report webinars and E&D, excess and deficiency, which is something that we have over at Swift River, New Salem, Wendell, because it's a regional school. So I'm excited to sort of see what Caitlin does and learn a little more. I presented my goals, my self-assessment, and parts of my rubric to the Joint Supervisory Committee on Monday. And so that part of the evaluation process for me is done, and then the rest is the committee members. So that's my report for this evening. If anyone has any questions or comments, I can take them now.
I have a quick question. So throughout COVID, we've learned a lot about how to manage, including Zoom and using those kinds of, or Google, I guess you guys use Google. So the new curriculum, or no, what's the title again?
Coordinator of Curriculum and Instruction, but basically curriculum coordinator.
Okay. Will that person, I know you said will be in Leverett, but will there be flexibility working from home as well, or are you?
Yep, I did offer some flexibility. She has a little one at home and is expecting another little one. So I did offer that option. And luckily for us, Suzer IT is our tech support for central office, and she's already worked with them through Mohawk, so she knows all about the virtual office and how to get support. And then I did share with her, one of the people at Suzer IT is also our Pam Rogers' son, so sometimes we get pushed a little ahead in the line for support. I think she's excited to be in the school, and she's also, I think, adept at being able to operate remotely when needed.
Yeah, I think that is one of the positive things to come out of COVID is, you know, being able to really attract a little bit more diversity in our pool of candidates and expand maybe where they're coming from. So good. Any other questions for Jennifer? All right, I don't see any hands up. Caitlin, Director of Finance and Operations.
Hi, so I just got back from the MASBO, which is the Massachusetts Association of School Business Officials. They had their annual institute out in Brewster. So I've been there since Monday night, but I got in about 20 minutes before this meeting. So it's a little chaotic at the house right now, but I'm glad I got back here in time. There were some really good sessions. I did even a pre-conference event for newer school business officials. And so the sessions were on procurement and food service, nutrition and equity, chapter 70 formula. And that, I mean, that's delivered by Rob Hanna and Rob O'Donnell, who are, and Jay Sullivan were there. It was, you know, really important people for the information that we need to gather. There was one on youth and families that was really great. And there was an operations, and there was an amazing demographics person who contracts and goes in and looks at demographics for different school areas for towns and regions. There are pieces about looking at the demographics of a town for what the percentage of homes that are owned versus rented and what implications that has on the projections for what your enrollment's going to be and where the enrollments are going to be for some of our rural districts. Just really interesting stuff. So I'm really glad to have that opportunity. I also got to meet and have time spent with other school business officials, both locally and across the state, and just kind of, you know, get some ideas and also kind of save some, you know, have some questions. And it was really important and really, it was really great to be there. So I'm really excited to have had the opportunity. The end of year report audits, we had the engagement letter signed last meeting, and we started to kind of gather what we need to have that audit done for FY22. So after this audit's done, we won't need another one until FY25 because it's on a 3-year cycle. So we'll have waivers for the next 2 years. And we had the town meeting on Saturday. Like Jen said, we've gone through 2 other towns already, and we're in that middle now of once we get past this 3rd one, we'll be kind of on our way out. But what I'm starting to learn is that we're kind of never out of budget season as this one wraps up. That I know that now we're rolling over and now we're starting to think about FY24. So I'm getting a sense of what the timeline and the calendar is. And I think that's it. If you have any questions or comments, you know.
Jackie.
I just have a comment.
Yeah.
I just want to publicly state to the committee that Caitlin is a breath of fresh air, and as a principal, I am very grateful that she is here.
Thank you, Jackie. Oh, during the conference on the first day, I snuck myself away into a corner of the lobby and did the MSBA meeting with Jim Comerford and everybody. And it was a great meeting to be a part of and to kind of listen to. I'm glad I'm glad they have those corners of lobbies that are quiet.
And I'm sorry, Caitlin, I didn't mention that you were at that meeting as well.
It's right. I didn't say much, so I was probably not even on your screen.
No, I think you were on my screen. I'm sorry. You were there as well. So thank you for your support there too.
Yeah, thank you.
How is your mentor working with you? How does that, you have a mentor, right?
I do, yeah. Russ Cobras, he is the business manager of Franklin County Tech School, and he's contracted in from time to time when I have questions. Right now he's helping me get my E&D certified through New Salem Wendell. And just when I kind of start to build a list, and then I'm like, okay, I need an hour. And we go over that list in an hour, and it seems like it's further and further apart that I need that hour, but he's available and there to help. So it's been a good relationship. And now that I spent some time with Joanne Blyer, the business manager from Gil Montague, and Michelle, the one from Mahar, and I'm starting to kind of grow my resources. And you always feel more comfortable reaching out to someone when you've met and had a conversation in person, before you start sending them emails asking for help.
So the superintendent serves on the finance subcommittee at the collaborative. So can I say a few good words to him the next time I see him about your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, good. And the only other thing I would just mention, obviously, Director of Finance and Operations, you're aware of the things that Jackie talked about earlier.
The school choice?
No, the parking lot and
Oh,
the
yes. Yeah, the operations part. It's funny, I have like 2 parts of my brain for the finance and the operations, and sometimes it's hard to switch back between the 2. Yes, I've the parking lot.
Yep. So that's where I think maybe you could take the lead and contact. I know the buildings committee is changing, so I don't know what's happening there, but start to engage with capital planning, buildings committee, town administrator, just to say, hey, here's the radar. In the past, like years and years ago, used to be us that would try to get estimates and everything else, but I think that's no good. So don't go down that rabbit hole if anything comes up. Okay.
Sure. All right, I can do that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else for Caitlin? No? All right, thank you. Principal's report.
I second the don't have us. I remember when I first started having to find the quotes for things, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what about quotes. What? So yeah, that I triple billion second. So yeah, it's a crazy time of year. We're winding up. A lot of energy with the children. But we still are grateful we're in person. So whenever it feels like it's getting a little hectic, we just remind ourselves that it's still better that we're all able to be together, because teaching little kids remotely is really tricky. So we have some staffing stuff going on, and some new hires. So I think I said in the last meeting that April Cannon, our third grade teacher, is moving into the math support role. And so we're thrilled about that. And and Sarah Willis, our first grade teacher, is moving on to a new career as a licensed mental health clinician. And so we have hired Kate Bailey in first grade, and Kate comes to us with many years experience from the Greenfield Public Schools in first grade and in reading intervention. And then we're hiring Carrie Doggett in third grade, who is a parent of a student in the school and an upcoming student, but has also taught at Fort River for 12 years. So we are thrilled to have them come. We have a very rigorous process, particularly for classroom teachers. We have very large committees that consist of lots of different people in the school, and at least one parent of a student entering that grade. And there's a first interview. Well, first of all, we share questions and we edit questions. Everyone has a chance to do that. Then we have a first interview, then we identify finalists, and then we have them come in and teach a model lesson to that grade level, being observed by everyone in the committee. And then we have a debrief session after that, where we talk with the candidate. And then the candidate meets with this, then we have picked one candidate and then they meet with the superintendent. So it's extremely time consuming, but very often we find that model lesson is way more telling than anything else. So so we make sure we do that. It was awesome. And I thank everyone who was part of those committees, which is a lot of people. And then the people who covered in the classroom for the people who were doing the interviews. So I love to do that early. That's why I'm grateful that we knew about these changes early, and we were able to get out in front of the candidate pool, because as we all know, there's a crunch for qualified teachers, and we got some really exciting new people. So I welcome them. A lot of stuff in the works in terms of, we have our 6th grade picnic, and we have our strings concert, and we have our field day, and we're going to have our graduation. So we're going to be doing all of those things in person, mostly outside. There is one thing that I want to bring to your attention, and I'm actually asking the committee for some school choice money for this year before this. So, and the reason why is because we didn't know about it until after, obviously, budget was kind of finalized. We did have our food service audit from the state this year. And there were several things that we had to do, like corrective action pieces from that audit. And the biggest one we had was that we need nutrient analysis software. So this is software that has a menu maker and production sheets and inventory digitized, and recipe breakdowns and nutritional breakdowns for like various age groups of kids, like preschool, then middle kids, then higher kids. And we don't have that. We have like old school system. And they were like, wow, you have amazing food, but you need to like enter the 21st century and have like a digitized version. And we were like, yes. And so, and we knew that, like, we kind of knew that going in, that might be something that happens. And so Debbie Lee, of course, and Gail have worked together, and they did a ton of research. I sent you my report, and in it, there's a link, and you can see all the research they did, which is pretty amazing, where they looked at all these programs and they like spoke with people and they asked questions. And the one that they feel most comfortable going with is luckily also one of the most cost effective, and it's called Mosaic. And it's $520 a year, but with an additional $1,000 as a startup to like get things going, and also for the training of people in the school to use it. And so if we want to be reimbursed from the state, we have to have something like this. And so we don't really have another choice, but for me to ask for you if we can use school choice money for this year to pay for this, to get it up and running. And then in the next budget season, we'll work it into the need into the general budget. But it's kind of a non-negotiable if we want to be able to be okayed by the state to have for our program. So that is my suggestion. And I see that Caitlin has her hand up.
Go ahead, Caitlin.
Yeah, something, because I've been gone, Jackie, we haven't had a chance to really connect on and talk about, is that we also had to do a, one of our corrective action plans is about cash resources exceeding allowable levels for the food service fund. And so we can also kind of look into that option as well, because we might have some excess.
Yeah,
I would have talked to you about this days ago if I wasn't gone, sorry.
No, that's good. I was going to say if we can use it from the general fund or general budget first, that'd be great. If not, do you want a vote or do you just want approval?
Well, what's so tricky is like school choice is tricky, right? Like if this was a general budget and I was making decisions, I can make that decision without necessarily like running it by you. But I know with school choice, it's a little different. So I would just like the okay that if we have to use it, we can use it. But if we don't need to use it, then we won't.
And
Like
certainly
Julie.
Jackie and I talked about making sure that if we use school choice this year, because the budget's already set, that we budget plan for next year, that it's in the general budget. So we wouldn't come back for the same reason.
Great. And it looks like Julie's formulating a motion.
Oh, I move to approve.
To use school choice funds in the sum of, did you say 500 or was it 1,000?
It would be like $1,600 in total.
So in the sum of approximately $1,600. Is that good with you, Julie? Those amendments that I added? Okay.
Sure.
And is there a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor? Hayes, aye.
Martell, aye.
Rose, I.
Thomas Bateman, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Right. And
Yeah,
I was gonna say, and go ahead.
and we're also looking into trying to, Jen might be able to wordsmith this better than me, but we're looking into trying to figure out more efficient ways for our food service directors to work together and utilize these resources together, because like I'm going to speak for Shutesbury and Leverett have way less kitchen staff than the rest of the union. And so we have one full-time person and a 0.4 person. And, you know, there's another school that has 3 full-time people. So it's like for Gail to be able to learn all of this and do all of this and cook the good food and order the good food and then serve the good food with only a little bit of help. We're trying to figure out more efficient ways on how to utilize some of our union staff to be able to maybe Gail doesn't have to like nutrient check everything. There can be someone else who supports some of that. But Jen, you have your hand up, but you probably could speak way more eloquently about it.
No, you did a wonderful job, Jackie, but we have been thinking about ways to be more efficient across Union 28. Even though we're not a region, are there opportunities for us to be efficient? And one of the things we've talked about at leadership team is utilizing an employee we already have, and then maybe offering a stipend or a fee for them to do things like the food service paperwork. And it would be somebody who is already familiar with data entry. And so that's in the works right now. And it would be more cost efficient because each town would contribute part of that stipend or fee. Additionally, I asked Jackie to check with Debbie about sharing the Mosaic software with Caitlin so we can share it with other food service directors, and maybe moving forward in the future, there would be some way to bundle the cost so we get it maybe costs less if we bought as a union rather than each individual district. So we are looking at ways to minimize the cost to the schools.
I'll add, I mean, I think now that the budget's kind of, I jumped in January with 5 budgets and kind of craziness. And now the food service is one of those things I'm trying to kind of focus on. And there's a lot of room to become more efficient and more cost effective, and really support our food service directors a lot more, because they're doing a whole lot. There's a lot of reporting, and they're also providing meals. And, that's really one of the things that I'd like to target at this point.
And besides that, we're finishing up MCAS. We are on the 3rd grade finishes tomorrow for math, and then we just have 5th grade science, and then we will be done with that for the year. Dan already talked about our meeting this week with everybody, and then the last day of school is June 21st, which is approximately 20 days left. So we're in the home stretch. And that's it. You're muted, Dan. You're muted.
Thank you. You did share with me there was an issue with some clothing, dress code sort of related stuff. Any thoughts on, I mean, you had a very good response to the parent, and it is a slippery slope of how do you...
We just convey what as a school we would like to see, but we are a public school. We're not going to deny access to education to anybody. I did write to some of the upper grade classes around some of the trends we were seeing around children altering their clothing once they were at school. I had some conversations with grown-ups who were not happy that we didn't tell them their children were altering their clothing at school. That combined with some of general staff thinking around some of the attire being worn to school. I just put out a very general and broad statement. I mean, Julie received one as a parent. She can even say, what it was. But obviously we're not trying to, squelch student expression or make people feel bad about things. We just simply stated a request, and it is not a demand. And we had one person concerned, but the rest I've had very positive feedback.
Great. I think you handled it very well. So thank you for doing that. All right. Any other questions for Jackie? No? All right. Amherst Pelham representatives report. Steve.
This will be super quick because the Amherst members have been meeting as the Amherst School Committee a bunch. So we've only met once, and it was really just housekeeping. But I will say that the Town Council in Amherst, the Pelham Town Meeting, and Leverett Town Meetings all approved their portion of the $1.5 million for the track. And the Shutesbury Select Board decided to take no action because we were going to run out of time before town meeting. And the reason for that was that they felt that since we were getting the 100% statutory, at least for the next 2 years, that we shouldn't rock the boat and just go with our portion of it. So now the fundraising can start full tilt to see if we can't reach that 4.3 million that they want, and we'll see what happens.
Great. Thank you. Any questions for Steve? No? All right. Nothing for, Union 28. Who would like to report on that? Lauren?
I was going to say, I think it's you or me, Dan. So we talked about we moved forward our plan to have to adopt the rolling average for the Union 28 percentages of expenses. So we took the first step, the first of two. And we're continuing to talk about efficiencies, as Jen mentioned earlier, because it's an ongoing effort. And I really think that was about it.
And then we heard Jennifer present her goals and supported some artifacts and all that kind of stuff. Great. Is the rest of the committee or everyone here familiar with what we're talking about as far as the Union 28 budget having the 5-year rolling average? Okay, good. All right, I think that'll be good for everybody, giving them a little bit more continuity or stability in budget preparation. So
I also think it occurred to me as a sort of a surprise that we had never talked about it before. So because it really does, level things out. The changes aren't as dramatic. So I'm really glad that we're taking that step.
mm-hmm. It's interesting. For some reason or other, I ended up on the regions committee or regional school committee for Massachusetts Association of School Committees. I think they just couldn't find anyone else in the state, so they picked me. And one of the things they were looking at is how to even out some of these budgets. And I brought up the 5-year rolling average, and I was surprised to see that they seem to be pretty surprised. So anyhow, maybe I did contribute something. All right. Any questions about Union 28? No? Awesome.
Just a second, I presented it at that meeting, the joint supervisory committee, but I didn't bring it up here, although I meant to. So in September, I'd like to give a short training on how to look at an expenditure report and what the different terms mean. And I promise I'll keep it short because it probably won't be super interesting, but that's what I'll be doing in September when when we roll into FY23 budget.
Great.
Caitlin, I specifically love that.
Thank you. It wasn't my
I think-
idea. It came from a different meeting. Someone else brought it up, and
Well, I think sometimes when you're in it, you have a shorthand and you don't know that your shorthand is not understood
Mhm.
for everything. So I really appreciate that idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. All right. Collaborative, we haven't had a meeting, but I'm happy to report that we have just signed our contract with the Department of Youth Services and students in special ed in institutional settings. It's been a grueling process. The executive director, Todd Gazda, has been sitting at the table throughout these negotiations. Being the chair of the collaborative, I've had experiences where many teachers come from all over the state and actually have picketed us. They come to our Zoom meetings. So it's been a little bit uncomfortable. However, what we have been trying to do for several years is trying to bring some parity for our teachers in that state setting. So for example, teachers start off at a much higher rate or a higher rate than some of the public schools, So when these teachers start off, it's an incentive to work in these settings because they're pretty challenging. But as the years go by, really the only thing that they're getting is a COLA. So it's taken a lot of time working with Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Department of Youth Services, and Todd has been great about really pushing the fact that we need steps and lanes. We need to make sure that teachers, once you hire them, you can retain them, and COLAs just weren't cutting it. So it was a lot of work trying to work with the state in order for them to approve the contract changes in the union contract. So I'm happy for the teachers. I think it was well deserved, and it was just a long, grueling process, but it's signed. So I'm happy about that. And that's it. We have our meeting next week. Policy review. There are 3 policies, first readings only, so no votes. If you have read them, we can go over them quickly. AC non-discrimination policy, including harassment and retaliation. If there's anything anyone would like to add or change or edit, or you could, if you see a grammatical thing or something, you can always send it to Jennifer. Okay. ACAB, sexual harassment. And then JICK, harassment of students. So the next meeting, it'll be coming up as the first vote, right? Jennifer, go ahead.
Yep. I was going up to future business just before, when we segue to policies, we are pausing the policy committee because we will need to reorganize and we will pick up in September.
Great. All right. Future business. The only thing, and I think you already made a note of it, we just need to let Pam know that we'll be talking about school choice funds moving forward. We're going to keep the capital projects building on our agenda, so we'll remember to keep talking about the siding and the parking lot pavement. Okay, Jackie? The other things there are the next school committee meeting, June 16th. That's good. And Union 28. We'll probably do a doodle poll by then. It's September. No, we have another one coming up, don't we, first?
Yeah, at the joint supervisory committee meeting on Monday, we decided to finish the vote sooner rather than later for the rolling average. I think that's one agenda item that might be on there, and then others may be added. But this agenda went out before that meeting.
Okay,
So,
perfect. Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right. Anything else? If there's anything that you, oh, go ahead, Jackie. Did you?
Yes, Jen and I wanted to just do a combined thank you to Lauren Thomas Paquin, who has been on this committee for so many years and has been so supportive. And for me as a principal too, she was a parent and staff member in the building at points. And it's really sad to not have her family at the school. But I just want to say thank you so much for all of your support over the years.
And I'd like to say thank you for your support, both on the Shutesbury committee and as on the joint supervisory committee and as chair of the joint supervisory committee. It really has been both a pleasure and an honor to work alongside you, and you will be missed on both committees.
That's really kind of you. Thank you so much. And I love our little school, and I have been glad to be able to help. So thank you. That really means a lot to me.
Yeah, you have been phenomenal, Lauren, in so many capacities all throughout these years. You've always been supportive, a good advocate, a good spokesperson. And, you know, for me as well, I've always felt like you've been a partner when, you know, I took over the chair from you, continuing to work with you. It was seamless. So I do appreciate all of your support in all these years. So we will miss you. And Julie, good luck in the election.
Yeah, good luck.
Yes, good luck, Julie. And Lauren, you can still send me an occasional text once in a while. We can keep in touch.
You might regret saying that.
You can even come to our meetings.
You know, I might. You might see me show up. So thank you very much.
All right. Is there anything else? All right. Well, seeing nothing else, I'll adjourn this meeting at 8:09. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you all. You have a nice evening.
Thank you. Good
Thank
evening,
you.
everyone.
Good luck at town meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.